My ex thought. He was my boss, until he found out I was the real CEO. The morning light streams through the floor-to-ceiling windows of my grandfather's, now my office on the 47th floor of Brooks Technology Tower. I trace my fingers along the mahogany desk where he used to sit, remembering the countless times I watched him work here as a little girl. The leather chair still holds his impression, though he's been gone for 6 months now. "Your 9 a.m. is here, Ms. Brooks." My assistant's voice crackles through the intercom. For now, this office is my secret sanctuary. Officially, I work 10 floors below as Madison Brooks, Senior Project Manager. Only a handful of people know my true position as CEO of Brooks Technology Holdings. "Thank you, Claire. I'll head down to my other office now." I gather my thoughts in my simple navy blazer, transforming from CEO to mid-level manager. The art of being underestimated is one I've perfected over the years, though never by choice. The elevator ride down is my daily reminder of why I'm playing this game. Each floor represents another layer of the company my grandfather built from nothing, the legacy he entrusted to me. "You're more ready than you know, Maddie," he'd said in his final days. "But watch carefully before you act. The truth about people emerges when they think no one important is looking." I step out onto the 37th floor, assuming my alternate identity. Here, I'm just another face in the corporate crowd, someone who blends into the background of budget meetings and quarterly reviews. The irony isn't lost on me. I sign Ryan's paychecks, yet he thinks I report to him. Speaking of the devil, I hear his voice before I see him. "If we don't maximize our profit margins by at least 15% this quarter, heads will roll." Ryan's voice carries down the hallway, that familiar mix of charm and threat that used to make my heart race for entirely different reasons. Now it just makes my stomach turn. "That's why I'm CEO, and you're not. I know how to make the tough calls." I round the corner to find him holding court with a group of nervous-looking department heads. 5 years haven't changed him much. Same. Perfectly tailored suits, same confident stance, same way of looking down at everyone even when they're taller than him. His dark hair has a few strands of silver now, but they only make him look more distinguished, more authoritative, more like the man who once told me I was too soft for the corporate world. Our eyes meet, and I see the flicker of recognition, followed by that trademark smirk. "Madison," he says, managing to make my name sound like both a greeting and a dismissal. "I didn't know you were still with us." "Going on 6 years now," I reply, keeping my voice neutral, professional, like I haven't spent the last month reviewing every decision he's made as CEO, finding the cracks in his leadership that nobody else sees. 6 years in the same position? That's consistent. The condescension in his tone makes several people in the group shift uncomfortably. "We're discussing the new strategic initiative. Probably a bit over your pay grade, but you're welcome to listen in. Maybe you'll learn something." I feel the old familiar sting, the echo of similar words from years ago. "You're too nice, Madison. Business isn't about being nice. It's about power." But now, instead of hurt, I feel something else, a calm, cool certainty. Because I know something he doesn't. Every strategic initiative has to cross my desk for final approval, even though he thinks they're his sole decision. "Actually," I say, pulling out my tablet, "I've been reviewing the numbers for the initiative, and I noticed some concerning trends in the projections." Ryan's smile tightens just slightly. "Have you now?" I pull up the charts I spent all weekend preparing. The profit margins you're targeting, they're based on market assumptions from last quarter. But if you look at the emerging tech sector trends, I launch into my analysis, watching his expression shift from dismissive to annoyed to concerned. "That's an interesting perspective," he cuts me off, his jaw tightening. "But I think I know a bit more about running a successful company than someone who's been stuck in middle management for 6 years. The group around us has grown quiet, watching the exchange with a mixture of fascination and discomfort. I see Kelly from accounting wince. She knows I'm right about the numbers. James from operations is studying his shoes, probably remembering how Ryan took credit for his cost-saving program last month. Of course, I say smoothly, tucking my tablet away. I'm just trying to help. And that's exactly your problem, isn't it, Madison? Ryan steps closer, lowering his voice so only I can hear. Always trying to help, always playing it safe. That's why you're still where you are, and I'm where I am. Some people are meant to lead, others to follow. You haven't changed at all. If he only knew how wrong he was. I have changed. I'm no longer the woman who let his words define her worth. I'm no longer seeking his approval or anyone else's. I'm the owner and CEO of a multi-billion-dollar company, and soon enough, he'll learn exactly what that means. But for now, I simply smile, channeling all the niceness he once despised. You're right, Ryan. I haven't changed. I'm still exactly who I've always been. I turn and walk away, leaving him to his court of nervous followers. In my pocket, my phone buzzes with a calendar reminder. Board meeting next week. The same meeting where I plan to reveal my true position. The same meeting where Ryan Dawson will learn that the woman he underestimated has been his boss all along. My grandfather's words echo in my mind. The truth about people emerges when they think no one important is looking. Well, I've been looking, Ryan, and I've seen enough. I head back to my modest office, the one with the small window and generic artwork, and begin preparing for next week's revelation. The chess pieces are all in place, and soon, very soon, the king will fall. He did what? I grip my phone tighter, pacing the small confines of my secret office on the top floor. It's 7 a.m., and I'm already dealing with the aftermath of Ryan's latest power play. Canceled the entire Green Initiative project, Claire repeats, her usual composed voice tinged with concern. The team found out through an email sent at midnight. Sarah from Environmental Engineering is devastated. She's been working on this for months. I close my eyes, remembering the pride in Sarah's voice when she presented the sustainable technology proposal to me, officially as a consultation with middle management, but really as CEO. The project could have revolutionized our energy consumption across all facilities, saving millions while positioning Brooks Technology as an industry leader in environmental responsibility. Any explanation given? I already know the answer, but I need to hear it. Quote, not aligned with our aggressive growth strategy. He's redirecting the funds to the new acquisition deal. The acquisition deal, of course. Ryan's pet project, buying out our smaller competitor, TechVance, purely to eliminate them from the market. It's exactly the kind of aggressive, short-sighted move he loves. Show of force over sustainable growth. Power over progress. Where are you now? I ask Claire. 37th floor, damage control. The green team is gathered in conference. Room C trying to salvage what they can. Most of them have been here since 6 a.m. I'm coming down. I gather my things, already planning my next moves. And Claire? Tell Walter I need him to move my 9 a.m. board review to the secure office. This changes things. The elevator ride down feels longer than usual. I use the time to send a series of encrypted emails to our legal team. They'll need to be ready for what's coming. Ryan may be acting CEO, but he doesn't have unilateral power to cancel board-approved projects. He just doesn't know that yet. When I reach conference room C, the scene breaks my heart. Sarah's team, 6 of our brightest engineers, surrounded by months of research spread across the tables. Sarah herself stands at the whiteboard, red-eyed but determined, mapping out alternative approaches. Madison! Sarah's surprise at seeing me quickly turns to relief. I'm so glad you're here. Maybe you can help us figure out how to salvage some of this research for other projects? I scan the room, noting the coffee cups, the rumpled clothes, the determination in their eyes despite the setback. These are the kind of people who build lasting success, not through force, but through innovation and dedication. Walk me through what you've got, I say, pulling up a chair. Every detail. For the next hour, I listen as they outline their work, solar integration systems that could cut our energy costs by 40%, waste reduction protocols that would save millions in operational expenses, innovation after innovation, all about to be scrapped for a quick market grab. What if... Sarah hesitates, then continues. What if we could prove that the environmental initiatives would actually support aggressive growth? We've run the numbers. The cost savings alone would fund expansion into new markets. Before I can respond, a familiar voice cuts through the room. Playing environmental activist on company time, Sarah. Ryan stands in the doorway, immaculate, in a charcoal suit that probably costs more than most of these engineers make in a month. The room temperature seems to drop 10 degrees. Mr. Dawson. Sarah straightens, her voice professional despite the circumstances. We were just wasting more company resources after I explicitly shut this project down. He steps into the room, his presence filling the space in that way I used to find magnetic and now see as suffocating. I made myself clear in the email. Brooks Technology is not a charity. We're here to dominate markets, not save trees. I feel the anger rising in my chest, but keep my voice level. These projections show significant cost savings. Madison, he cuts me off with a condescending smile. Always championing the underdogs. It's cute, really. But this is business. Sometimes tough decisions have to be made. That's why I'm in charge, and you're... He gestures vaguely at my simple blazer and practical heels. Where you are. The room holds its breath. I see the fury in Sarah's eyes, the disappointment in her team's faces. They're waiting for me to back down, just like everyone always does when Ryan flexes his authority. Not this time. You're right about one thing, Ryan, I say, standing slowly. Tough decisions do have to be made. Sarah, gather your team and... your research. Don't dismantle anything yet. Ryan's smile hardens. Excuse me? The board has final say on cancellation of major initiatives, I continue, gathering my things. As I recall, this project was approved in the last quarterly review. Canceling it without proper procedure could pose significant legal issues. The board approved this under my recommendation. And they can review that decision under new information. I meet his gaze steadily. Unless you're worried the numbers don't support your position? For a moment, I see a flicker of uncertainty in his eyes. He covers it quickly with a laugh. You really don't know when to quit, do you? Fine. Waste your time preparing a presentation. The board meets next week. We'll let them decide if they want to listen to a middle manager's pet project over their CEO's strategic vision. He turns on his heel and strides out, leaving a wake of tension behind him. Sarah approaches me cautiously. Madison. Thank you. But won't this cause problems for you? He's not known for taking challenges well. I think of the stack of documents in my private office upstairs. The real quarterly reports, the succession papers, the evidence of every short-sighted decision Ryan has made. Don't worry about me, Sarah. Just have your team ready to present next week. Full data, full projections. As I head back to my office, my phone buzzes with a text from Claire. Walter has the board review ready in the secure office. Also, Ryan's assistant said he's demanding the full dossier on the TechVance acquisition immediately. I smile slightly. Let him focus on his takeover plans. In 1 week, the board won't be asking for his strategic vision. They'll be questioning every decision he's made since taking the interim position. Sometimes the toughest decisions aren't about what you do with power, but about when to reveal you had it all along. The sun has long since set over Manhattan when I finally leave the office. My regular office, not the secret one upstairs. These days, I feel like I'm constantly performing a balancing act between my two lives, and tonight that balance had tipped dangerously close to exposure. Madison, a familiar voice calls out as I cross the lobby. Olivia Chen, head of our legal department, and one of the few people who knows my secret, hurries to catch up with me. Her usual pristine appearance shows signs of a long day, slight creases in her silk blouse, hair escaping her normally perfect bun. Join me for dinner? She asks, but her expression tells me this isn't a social invitation. That little Italian place around the corner? 20 minutes later, we're seated in a quiet booth at Vincenzo's, the kind of place where the waiters know to keep their distance when serious conversations are happening. Olivia waits until our wine arrives before leaning forward. Ryan's been making calls to our major shareholders, she says without preamble. 3 of them contacted me today asking about unusual clauses in the company charter regarding CEO succession. I take a slow sip of my Chianti, letting the information settle. He's getting nervous. He's getting suspicious, Olivia corrects. After your standoff over the Green Initiative, he's been digging. The timing of your grandfather's succession, plan, the unusual board structure, the limited access to certain company documents. He's not stupid, Madison. Arrogant, yes, but not stupid. How close is he? Not close enough to piece it together, but... She pauses as our food arrives. Linguine for her, risotto for me. Once we're alone again, she continues. He's starting to realize something's not adding up. The question is, can we keep him in the dark until next week's board meeting? I push my risotto around the plate, appetite diminishing. We have to. The timing needs to be perfect. If he finds out too soon, he could cause serious damage, Olivia finishes. I know, but that's not what I'm really worried about. She gives me a pointed look. When was the last time you had dinner with someone other than me or Claire? When was the last time you did anything that wasn't work-related? I had lunch with Mom on Sunday. I defend weakly. Where you spent the entire time dodging her questions about why you're still in middle management and when you're going to find someone nice and settle down. Olivia sighs. Madison, you're living a double life. It's taking a toll. She's... right, of course. My apartment, a spacious penthouse that should be my sanctuary, feels more like a storage unit, somewhere to keep my things while I navigate my complicated existence. The last date I went on was 8 months ago, and I ended it early because maintaining my cover story felt too exhausting. It's temporary, I say, but the words sound hollow even to me. Once the board meeting. Once the board meeting what? Olivia interrupts gently. You'll suddenly start living your life? Stop keeping everyone at arm's length? This isn't just about Ryan anymore, and you know it. I stare into my wine glass, watching the deep red liquid catch the light. What do you mean? I mean that maybe part of you is hiding behind this secret. It's safer than risking another relationship like Ryan. Safer than letting people see the real you and possibly rejecting you again. Her words hit too close to home, stirring up memories I've tried to suppress. The night Ryan ended things, his words cutting deeper than he knew. You're too soft, Madison. You care too much about what people think, about doing the right thing. That's not how you get ahead in this world. He was wrong about me, I say, more to myself than Olivia. Yes, he was, but proving that doesn't mean you have to do it alone. She reaches across the table, squeezing my hand. Your grandfather didn't make you CEO because you were like Ryan. He chose you because you're different. My phone buzzes, another crisis demanding attention. But before I check it, I look at my friend across the table. When did you get so wise? Around the same time you started pretending to be less than you are. She picks up her wine glass. To next week's board meeting. May Ryan Dawson finally learn what real leadership looks like. I clink my glass against hers, but my mind is already racing ahead. My phone buzzes again, and this time I check it. It's a message from Claire. Emergency meeting called for tomorrow morning. Ryan wants all department heads present. Says it's about company loyalty and chain of command. Problem? Olivia asks, noting my expression. I show her the message. Looks like Ryan's making his move sooner than we expected. She reads it and looks up at me, concern evident in her eyes. What are you going to do? I think about Sarah and her team, still fighting for their project. About my mother, worried that I'm not living up to my potential. About my grandfather, who trusted me with his legacy. About Ryan, who never saw me coming. I'm going to do what I've been doing all along, I say, straightening my shoulders. I'm going to run my company, just from the shadows, for a few more days. As we finish our dinner, I can't help but wonder if Olivia's right, if I'm hiding behind this charade not just to test Ryan, but to protect myself. Tomorrow's meeting will push me closer to the edge of exposure, and part of me is terrified. But another part, the part that's grown stronger in silence, is ready for the spotlight. 7 days until the board meeting. 7 days until I can stop pretending. 7 days until Ryan learns that the woman he underestimated now holds his fate in her hands. I just hope I'm ready for what comes after. The tension in the main conference room is thick enough to cut with a knife. It's 8 a.m., and every department head is present, along with key team leaders, about 30 people in total. I sit near the middle of the long table, deliberately unremarkable in my navy pantsuit, watching Ryan pace at the front of the room. His usual smooth confidence has an edge to it today, like a predator that sensed a threat, but can't quite locate it. "Thank you all for coming on such short notice," he begins, his voice carrying that practiced authority that used to make boardrooms fall silent. "I've called this meeting because we have a situation that needs to be addressed immediately." My phone vibrates silently in my pocket, likely Claire, monitoring from her desk. I keep my expression neutral as Ryan continues. "It has come to my attention that certain employees have been circumventing the chain of command, spreading dissent, and attempting to undermine executive decisions." His gaze sweeps the room, lingering pointedly on me before moving on. "This stops now." Sarah shifts uncomfortably in her seat across the table. Next to her, James from operations stares intently at his coffee cup. I can feel the collective anxiety rising. Everyone wondering if they're the target, everyone hoping they're not. "Brooks Technology has thrived under my leadership because we maintain order," Ryan continues, now standing directly behind my chair. I can smell his expensive cologne, the same brand he wore 5 years ago. "When I make a decision, it's final. When I set a direction, we follow it. That's not a suggestion. It's a requirement of employment here." I feel his hands rest on the back of my chair, a power move designed to intimidate. For example, when I cancel a project, that project stays canceled. When I say an initiative is not aligned with our strategy, that's not an invitation for debate. Sarah's face flushes red. I catch her eye across the table and give her the slightest shake of my head. "Not yet." "Furthermore," Ryan's voice hardens, "any attempts to go around proper channels, say, by trying to appeal directly to the board, will be considered grounds for immediate termination." The room falls dead silent. Even the usual sound of typing and paper shuffling stops. This isn't just about the green initiative anymore. This is Ryan drawing a line in the sand. I raise my hand, the perfect picture of middle management politeness. "May I ask a question?" Ryan's smile doesn't reach his eyes. "Of course, Madison. Always so inquisitive." "The company charter specifically protects employees' right to raise concerns to the board through proper channels," I say, keeping my voice steady. "Are you suggesting we ignore that provision?" A few heads turn my way, then quickly look down again. Ryan's hands tighten on my chair. "The charter also emphasizes respecting the chain of command," he counters. "And since you seem so familiar with company policy, you should know that challenging the CEO's authority can be considered insubordination. Is that a threat?" I ask, turning to look up at him. For a moment, our eyes lock, and I see something flicker in his expression. A shadow of doubt, quickly masked by anger. "It's a reminder of your place in this company, Madison. One you seem to need lately." I stand slowly, forcing him to step back. "My place in this company is exactly where I'm meant to be, Ryan, just like everyone else in this room." The tension crackles between us. Around the table, people hold their breath, watching this clash of wills play out. Always the idealist, Ryan says, his tone dripping with condescension. This is why you'll never advance beyond where you are now. You don't understand how real power works. I think of my grandfather's office upstairs, of the documents in my private safe, of the board meeting looming ever closer. Maybe I understand power better than you think. Clearly not, he snaps, then catches himself, smoothing his expression back to professional disdain. Let me make this simple for everyone. The Green Initiative is dead. The TechVance acquisition is proceeding. Anyone who has a problem with either of those decisions should update their resume. Are we clear? Murmurs of "yes, sir," and "understood" ripple around the room. I remain silent, watching Ryan bask in his apparent victory. Excellent. Now, I expect complete loyalty and compliance from every person in this room. No exceptions. He straightens his tie. Madison, I'd like to see you in my office after this. We need to discuss your future with the company. Actually, I say, gathering my things calmly, I have a meeting I can't reschedule, but I'm sure we'll have plenty to discuss at next week's board meeting. His eyes narrow. That wasn't a request. Neither was my grandfather's last wish, I say softly, so only he can hear. Before he can process what I've said, I turn to leave the room. Madison! His sharp call stops me at the door. Whatever game you're playing, you can't win. You're not built for this kind of fight. I look back at him, at the man who once convinced me I was too soft for success, too nice for power. In 6 days, he'll learn just how wrong he was. We'll see, I say, and walk out, leaving him with the first real clue to who I really am. Behind me, I hear him dismiss the meeting, his voice carrying an edge of uncertainty that wasn't there before. My phone buzzes again, a message from Claire. Walter's waiting in the secure office. He says it's urgent. As I head for the elevator, I spot Olivia down the hall, watching me with concern. I give her a slight nod. The game is changing, the stakes rising. Ryan just made his move, forcing my hand earlier than I planned. But that's okay. Sometimes the best power plays are the ones your opponent forces you to make. Walter Reynolds has been Brooks Technologies' chief financial officer since before I was born. He was my grandfather's most trusted advisor, and now he's one of the few people who knows my secret. When I step into the secure office and see him pacing, something he never does, my stomach tightens. Ryan's making moves on the TechVance deal, he says without preamble, his silver hair disheveled like he's been running his hands through it. He's called an emergency board vote for tomorrow. He can't do that, I say, but even as the words leave my mouth, I know it's not that simple. The acquisition requires full board review and he's invoking the emergency action clause. Walter stops pacing to look at me, his weathered face grave. Claims market volatility requires immediate action to prevent TechVance from being acquired by a competitor. I sink into my grandfather's old leather chair, my mind racing. The emergency action clause, a remnant from the company's early days, when quick decisions could mean survival or bankruptcy. It allows the CEO to fast-track major decisions with only a simple majority board vote, bypassing usual review procedures. Is there actually another buyer? I ask. No. Walter pulls out his tablet, fingers flying over the screen. But Ryan's created a convincing paper trail suggesting there is. Look at this. He hands me the tablet, showing a series of carefully crafted emails and market analysis reports. My eyes narrow as I read. He's been planning this. For weeks, Walter confirms. The emergency meeting this morning, canceling the Green Initiative, it was all preparation for this. He's consolidating power, eliminating potential opposition before making his big move. I stand and walk to the window, looking out over the city my grandfather built his empire in. the Tech Vance acquisition would drain our liquid assets. Precisely. Walter joins me at the window. We'd have to suspend all other major initiatives for at least 2 quarters. No new projects, no expansions, no innovations. Just digesting Tech Vance while Ryan claims credit for aggressive growth. And if the market turns down during those 2 quarters, we'd be vulnerable, he finishes. The kind of vulnerable that leads to emergency refinancing. The kind that could force the board to consider selling shares to raise capital. The picture becomes clear. He's not just after Tech Vance. He's trying to force a situation where he could buy controlling interest in Brooks Technology. Walter nods grimly. Your grandfather always said Ryan was clever. He's using our own corporate structure against us. I think about the morning's confrontation, Ryan's veiled threats, the fear in the room. He knows something's up. My comment about grandfather's last wish. I shouldn't have said it. Maybe not, Walter agrees. But what's done is done. The question is, what are we going to do about it? I return to the desk, pulling up the company charter on my secure terminal. When is the emergency vote scheduled? Tomorrow at 2 p.m. And the regular board meeting is still set for next week? Yes, but Madison... Walter hesitates. If the Tech Vance deal goes through tomorrow, next week's revelation won't matter. The company will be committed to a path that'll take years to correct. I scan through the charter's emergency action clause, looking for something, anything we can use. Then I spot it. A small subsection, easily overlooked. Here, I point to the screen. Emergency actions can be suspended if there's evidence of material conflict of interest not disclosed to the board. Walter leans in to read. But we'd need proof of conflict within the next... He checks his watch. 18 hours, and it would have to be significant. I think about Ryan's recent moves, his aggressive push for the acquisition. Something's not adding up. Get me everything you can find on Tech Vance's ownership structure. Shell companies, subsidiaries, everything. You think Ryan has a hidden stake? I think Ryan never makes a move this big without a personal angle. I pull out my phone to text Olivia. And I think it's time we found out exactly what that angle is. Walter gathers his things, energy renewed now that we have a direction. I'll put our best analysts on it, but Madison... He pauses at the door. Be careful. Ryan's playing for keeps. So am I say, already dialing Claire's number. And unlike Ryan, I actually own the company he's trying to steal. After Walter leaves, I sit in my grandfather's chair, feeling its familiar comfort. On my desk, next to the latest quarterly reports, sits the framed photo of grandfather and me at my college graduation. His eyes twinkle with the same mischief they held when he told me his succession plan. The best leaders, he'd said, don't just play the game. They change the rules. My phone buzzes, a message from Sarah. Ryan's assistant is collecting all Green Initiative files, says they're being archived. Another buzz, Claire. Ryan's called in his personal lawyers, meeting in his office now. A third, Olivia. Just got the request for tomorrow's emergency board vote. Something feels off about the Tech Vance paperwork. I take a deep breath, channeling my grandfather's strength. Ryan thinks he's setting a trap, using company policies and financial pressure to get what he wants. But he's forgotten one crucial detail. This is my company. These are my rules, and I've spent the last 6 months learning every single one of them. Time to show him how the game is really played. Time check, I say, rubbing my tired eyes as I scan another document on my tablet. 11:42 p.m., Claire responds from her makeshift workstation on my office couch. She hasn't complained once about staying late, even though she's been here since dawn. 14 hours until the emergency vote. The secure office has become a war room. Scattered coffee cups and takeout containers tell the story of our day-long investigation into Tech Vance's ownership structure. Olivia sits cross-legged on the floor, surrounded by stacks of legal documents. Walter's team has commandeered the conference room next door, following financial trails through a maze of shell companies. Found something, Olivia announces, holding up a paper. 3 months ago, TechVance restructured their board. They brought in a new member, Alexander Dawson. I look up sharply. Any relation? Ryan's brother. She hands me the document. He's representing Quantum Ventures, a private equity firm that bought a significant stake in TechVance. Quantum Ventures, I repeat, the name triggering something in my memory. Claire. Already on it, she says, fingers flying over her keyboard. Quantum Ventures was founded 2 years ago. Their portfolio focuses on tech acquisitions, mainly companies that are undervalued or in distress. She pauses, frowning at her screen. Most of their deals end in aggressive restructuring or asset stripping. I stand, pacing to work out the stiffness in my legs. So, Ryan's brother is on TechVance's board, representing a firm that specializes in hostile takeovers. That's a clear conflict of interest. Not clear enough, Olivia sighs. The relationship is public record. Ryan could argue he disclosed it when he first proposed the acquisition. There has to be more, I say, thinking out loud. Ryan wouldn't risk everything on a plan this obvious. He's too smart for that. My phone buzzes. Walter, from next door. Need you to see this, now. Keep digging, I tell Olivia and Claire, heading for the conference room. I find Walter standing over one of his analysts, staring at a complex web of financial transactions displayed on a large screen. Look at the money flow, he says without turning around. Quantum Ventures' initial investment in TechVance. Where did it come from? I study the diagram, following the arrows through a dizzying series of offshore accounts and shell companies. It's circular, I realize. The money originated from Brooks Technology? Walter nods grimly. 3 separate consulting contracts, all approved by Ryan, all grossly overpriced. The money went through 7 different entities before landing in Quantum Ventures' account, just in time for them to buy into TechVance. He used our own money to set this up? My voice rises with disbelief. How did this get past our auditors? Because technically the contracts were legitimate. Software consulting, market analysis, strategic planning, all services we actually received. They were just overpriced by exactly the amount his brother's firm needed, I finish. Do we have proof linking Ryan directly to Quantum Ventures? Walter shakes his head. Not yet, but a commotion from my office interrupts him. Claire bursts into the conference room, tablet in hand. You need to see this right now. I follow her back to the secure office where Olivia is now standing, holding a printed email. Remember when Ryan started pushing for the TechVance acquisition? She asks. Right after he came back from that leadership conference in Singapore? 3 months ago, I nod. What about it? He never went to Singapore. Claire turns her tablet to show me a photo. He was in the Cayman Islands, meeting with the partners of Quantum Ventures. The image shows Ryan on a yacht, drinking champagne, with several men in expensive suits. And look who's standing next to him. I lean closer, studying the figure partially hidden behind Ryan. James Morrison, I breathe. TechVance's CEO. The meeting took place 2 weeks before TechVance announced their financial troubles, Olivia adds. The same troubles that made them a target for acquisition. The pieces click into place. They manufactured the crisis, I say. Ryan and Morrison orchestrated the whole thing. Drive down TechVance's value, use Brooks Technology's money to fund the purchase through Quantum Ventures, then push through an emergency acquisition at an inflated price. And once the deal goes through, Walter adds from the doorway, Quantum Ventures ends up with a significant stake in both companies. Which means Ryan and his brother would effectively control everything, Claire finishes. They'd be able to force a merger, restructure both companies, probably spin off the most valuable assets. And I check my watch, 12:15 a.m., Less than 14 hours until the emergency vote. Olivia, how solid is this evidence? She's already reviewing the documents. The photo proves Ryan lied about his whereabouts and met secretly with TechVance's CEO. The financial trail shows he used company funds to finance his brother's investment firm. The timing of TechVance's troubles coinciding with these meetings suggests market manipulation. She looks up at me. It's circumstantial, but together it's enough to suspend the emergency action, I finish. Especially since the board only needs reasonable suspicion of conflict, not definitive proof. Madison, Walter says quietly, using this means showing our hand. Ryan will know someone's been investigating him, someone with high-level access to company records. He already suspects something's wrong, I reply. At least this way, we control how the information comes out. I look around at my team, my friends, who have spent the last 15 hours helping me save my grandfather's company. They look exhausted but determined, ready for whatever comes next. Claire, get everything organized and send it to my private server. Olivia, draft a formal objection citing all applicable sections of the charter. Walter, I need you to... A knock at the door freezes us all in place. Through the frosted glass, we can see a tall figure standing outside. Madison? Ryan's voice carries through the door. I know you're in there. We need to talk. For a long moment, nobody moves. Claire's fingers hover over her keyboard. Olivia clutches the stack of damning documents, and Walter stands like a sentinel near the door. Through the frosted glass, Ryan's silhouette remains perfectly still, waiting. I meet Walter's eyes and give him a slight nod. He steps forward and opens the door. Ryan fills the doorframe, his usually impeccable appearance showing signs of strain. His tie is slightly loose, and there's a tension around his eyes I've never seen before. He takes in the scene, the scattered papers, the multiple laptops, my team's defensive postures, and his expression darkens. Working late? He asks, voice deceptively casual. Funny, I don't remember any projects requiring this level of attention. You're working late yourself, I reply, standing behind my grandfather's desk. My heart pounds, but my voice remains steady. The emergency board vote isn't until tomorrow. Something keeping you up? He steps into the office, and I see the exact moment he realizes where we are. His eyes scan the wood paneling, the vintage, photographs of Brooks Technologies' early days, the view of Manhattan that only comes from the top floor. This is Charles Brooks's private office, he says slowly. I've been trying to get access to this room for months. Security keeps telling me it's sealed under the succession protocols. His gaze locks onto mine. Yet here you are, a middle manager, working after hours in the founder's private office. I think we both know I'm not just a middle manager, I say quietly. The words land like stones in still water. Ryan's face goes through a rapid series of emotions. Shock, disbelief, anger, before settling into something harder. How long have you been planning this? He asks, his voice tight with controlled rage. I could ask you the same thing about the TechVance deal. He laughs, but there's no humor in it. So that's what all this is about? You're digging into my acquisition, playing corporate detective? He takes another step forward. You have no idea what you're dealing with, Madison. 3 months ago, you weren't in Singapore, I say, watching his reaction carefully. You were in the Cayman Islands, meeting with James Morrison and the partners of Quantum Ventures, including your brother. His smile falters for just a fraction of a second. You've been busy. So have you. Those consulting contracts were particularly clever, using our own money to finance your brother's investment firm. Was that your idea, or did Morrison suggest it? You can't prove any of that, he says, but there's a new wariness in his stance. The emergency board vote is in 13 hours, I continue. Do you want to bet whether I can prove enough to Suspend the emergency action clause? He studies me for a long moment, and I see something shift in his expression. The contempt that's always been there when he looks at me is replaced by something else. Calculation. What do you want? He asks finally. Excuse me? Come on, Madison, everyone wants something. He spreads his hands in a conciliatory gesture. Let's make a deal. You're clearly more capable than I gave you credit for. Maybe there's a place for you in the new structure after the merger. A real position, not this play acting you've been doing. You think this is about a job title? It's always about position and power. That's how the real world works. He moves closer, lowering his voice. Think about it. Together we could— Mr. Dawson, Walter interrupts, his tone formal. I believe Ms. Brooks has made her position clear. Ryan's head snaps around. Ms. Brooks? Yes, I say, straightening to my full height. Madison Brooks, granddaughter of Charles Brooks, majority shareholder and CEO of Brooks Technology Holdings. The silence that follows is absolute. Ryan turns back to me, and for the first time, I see real fear in his eyes. That's not possible, he whispers. The succession plan was executed exactly as my grandfather intended, I finish. He named me CEO 6 months ago before he died. The board approved it unanimously. No, he shakes his head. I would have known. I was appointed interim CEO, yes, a temporary position while I assessed the company's operations from the inside. My grandfather's last request. He wanted me to understand every level of the business before taking public control. And to see who could be trusted, Walter adds pointedly. Ryan's face hardens as the full implications hit him. You've been watching me this whole time, testing me. Yes, I say simply. And you failed. Spectacularly. He takes a step back, his mind visibly racing through scenarios, looking for leverage. The board will receive a full report on the TechVance situation before tomorrow's vote. Olivia interjects, holding up the stack of documents, including the evidence of your undisclosed conflicts of interest. You can't do this, he says, but the words sound hollow even to him. You're not built for this kind of fight. That's where you've always been wrong, Ryan. I pick up the photo of my grandfather from the desk. I'm not fighting. I'm leading. And this company isn't a prize to be won through manipulation and backroom deals. It's a legacy built on innovation, integrity, and real growth. You'll regret this, he says, but the threat sounds weak, desperate. No, I won't. I press the intercom button on my desk. Security, please escort Mr. Dawson from the building. His access credentials have been revoked. As 2 security guards appear in the doorway, Ryan looks at me one last time. In his eyes, I see the moment he finally understands what he failed to see all these years. Power isn't about dominance or control. It's about responsibility, vision, and the courage to stand up for what's right. Goodbye, Ryan, I say softly. I'll have HR send your final paycheck. After he's gone, Claire lets out a long breath. That was intense, Olivia finishes. It's not over, Walter warns. He'll fight back, try to rally supporters on the board. Let him try. I sit back down in my grandfather's chair, my chair now, finally and fully. We have the truth on our side, and tomorrow, everyone else will know it too. Looking at my team, my friends, I feel a weight lift from my shoulders. No more hiding, no more pretending to be less than I am. Tomorrow, I step into the light as the leader I was always meant to be. But first, we have work to do. Claire, start distributing the evidence to all board members. Olivia, prepare the formal challenge to the emergency action. Walter. Already on it, he says, pulling out his phone. Calling an early morning. Press conference. It's time the world met the real CEO of Brooks Technology. As they spring into action, I look out over the city my grandfather built his dreams in. Somewhere out there, Ryan is probably already plotting his revenge, calling in favors, trying to save his reputation. Let him try. I'm done hiding in the shadows. Time to show everyone what real leadership looks like. The vultures are circling, Claire murmurs as we watch the lobby security feeds. News vans line the street outside Brooks Technology Tower, and reporters cluster near the entrance, all drawn by the mysterious early morning press release announcing a major leadership change. I study my reflection in the office window, barely recognizing myself. Gone is the intentionally unremarkable middle manager's wardrobe. Instead, I wear a tailored charcoal suit that my grandfather would have approved of. Classic, powerful, but not showy. My grandmother's pearl necklace adds a personal touch that feels right for this moment. Board members are arriving, Walter announces, checking his tablet. They're being directed to the main boardroom. Ryan's already there. I raise an eyebrow. Bold move. He's making a statement, Olivia says, straightening my jacket collar. Showing up early, acting like nothing's changed. Classic power play. How many board members got our evidence packet? All 15, Claire confirms. Delivered electronically at 6 a.m., hard copies waiting at their seats. Ryan's been trying to call them all morning, but most aren't taking his calls. I check the time. 8:45 a.m. The emergency board meeting starts in 15 minutes, followed by the press conference at 10. In just over an hour, everything changes. Ready? Walter asks softly. I think about all the moments that led here, watching my grandfather build this company, learning at his knee, proving myself at every level of the business. I think about Ryan's dismissive words years ago and how they pushed me to work harder, learn more, become stronger. Ready. The elevator ride to the boardroom level is silent. My team, my friends, flank me like an honor guard. When the doors open, we can hear the murmur of voices from down the hall. Ms. Brooks, a familiar voice calls out. Sarah hurries toward us, followed by several other department heads. We heard... is it true? I look at this group of talented people who've worked under Ryan's toxic leadership for too long. Yes, it's true. And Sarah? The Green Initiative is back on, effective immediately. Her face lights up, but before she can respond, the boardroom doors open. Ryan stands in the doorway, his expression thunderous. What is this? He demands, waving a copy of our evidence packet. Some kind of joke? Good morning, Ryan, I say, calmly, walking past him into the boardroom. The board members present, 13 of the 15 so far, look up with varying expressions of shock, curiosity, and dawning understanding. Madison, Eleanor Chen, our longest-serving board member, stands slowly. You look just like your grandfather in this room. Thank you, Eleanor. I move to the head of the table, my grandfather's old seat, Ryan's usual chair. I believe we have some matters to discuss. This is ridiculous, Ryan sputters. You can't just... Actually, she can, Walter interrupts, distributing additional documents. As per the succession plan approved 6 months ago, Madison Brooks is the majority shareholder and CEO of Brooks Technology Holdings. All proper documentation has been filed with the SEC. The emergency vote, Ryan starts, is suspended. Olivia cuts in smoothly. Pending investigation of undisclosed conflicts of interest regarding the Tech Vance acquisition. The room erupts in overlapping conversations. I let it continue for a moment, watching Ryan's face as he realizes how completely he's lost control. Then I clear my throat softly, just as my grandfather used to do. The room falls silent. Ladies and gentlemen of the board, I begin. I know you have questions. Let me start by explaining why we're here. For the next 20 minutes, I lay out everything: the succession plan, my undercover role, and most importantly, the evidence of Ryan's attempted corporate manipulation. I watch the board members' faces as they follow along in their packets, seeing the same anger and disappointment I felt when we uncovered the scheme. "This is a witch hunt," Ryan interrupts. "A vindictive attempt to—" "Your own brother's signature is on the Quantum Ventures documents," Eleanor says sharply. "And these photos of your Cayman Islands meetings. Did you really think we wouldn't find out?" "The timing of TechVance's financial troubles is particularly interesting," adds Michael Patel, our head of audit. "Almost as if they were orchestrated." Ryan looks around the table, finding no allies. "This company needs strong leadership. Someone who understands real power, real business. Not some girl playing dress-up in her grandfather's office." "Strong leadership?" I stand slowly. "Let's talk about leadership, Ryan. In the past 6 months, while you were orchestrating your takeover attempt, I've worked with every department in this company. I've seen the innovation you tried to stifle, the talent you've overlooked, the opportunities you've missed because you were too focused on power plays." I press a button, and the wall screen lights up with financial projections. "These are the real numbers for the green initiative you tried to kill. Projected cost savings of 40% across all facilities. Carbon footprint reduction that would put us 5 years ahead of industry standards. Innovations that could spawn whole new revenue streams." The board members lean forward, studying the figures. "But you couldn't see that," I continue. "Because you don't understand what real leadership is. It's not about control or dominance. It's about vision. About building something that lasts. About trusting and empowering the incredible people who make this company work." "Pretty words," Ryan sneers. "But business isn't about being nice." "No," I agree. "It's about being right, about making decisions that create real value, not just the illusion of power." I turn to the board. "You have all the evidence. The choice is yours. Do we move forward with Ryan's emergency acquisition, or do we pursue a strategy of sustainable growth and innovation?" Eleanor stands first. "I move to terminate Ryan Dawson's employment with Brooks Technology, effective immediately, and to formally recognize Madison Brooks as CEO." "Seconded," Michael says quickly. "All in favor?" The ayes are unanimous. Ryan's face goes pale. "You'll be hearing from my lawyers," he threatens. "I look forward to it," Olivia replies cheerfully. "I've already prepared our response to any potential litigation. Would you like to see it?" As security arrives to escort Ryan out, I turn back to the board. "Now, let's talk about the future of Brooks Technology. Sarah, would you please bring in your team to present the full Green Initiative proposal?" The next hour flies by in a whirlwind of presentations, questions, and planning. By the time we break for the press conference, there's a new energy in the room, a sense of possibility and purpose that had been missing under Ryan's leadership. "Your grandfather would be proud," Eleanor tells me quietly as we head to the press room. "Not just of what you did, but how you did it." I touch my grandmother's pearls, thinking of the legacy I'm now responsible for. "This is just the beginning." "Yes," she smiles. "It is." The press room doors loom ahead. Beyond them, dozens of reporters waiting to meet the new CEO of Brooks Technology. No more hiding. No more pretending to be less than I am. It's time to step into the light. Camera flashes erupt as I step up to the podium, momentarily blinding me. The Brooks Technology press room is packed wall to wall with reporters, all hungry for the story of the secret CEO who exposed a corporate conspiracy. In the front row, I spot familiar faces from the Wall Street Journal, CNBC, and Bloomberg, their expressions eager and intense. "Good morning," I begin, my voice clear and steady. "I'm Madison Brooks, CEO of Brooks Technology Holdings." The room erupts in questions, dozens of voices competing to be heard. I raise my hand, just as I've seen my grandfather do countless times, in this very room. I know you have questions. I'll address them all. But first, let me tell you a story about legacy, leadership, and the future of Brooks Technology. As I speak, I see my words appearing on news tickers and social media feeds displayed on the monitors at the back of the room. Our Brooks CEO is already trending. The market will open in 30 minutes, and every word I say here will affect our stock price, our partnerships, our future. 6 months ago, my grandfather, Charles Brooks, made a decision. He knew his time was limited, and he wanted to ensure Brooks Technology would continue to lead through innovation, integrity, and vision. He asked me to learn our company from the ground up, to understand every department, every challenge, every opportunity. I pause, letting the gravity of the moment settle. What I found was a company full of brilliant, dedicated people whose potential was being stifled by leadership that valued control over creativity, power over progress. I discovered attempts to manipulate our company's future for personal gain, and I saw countless opportunities being missed because of short-sighted thinking. The room is silent now, every reporter hanging on each word. Today marks a new chapter for Brooks Technology. We're immediately reinstating our Green Initiative, a groundbreaking program that will revolutionize corporate environmental responsibility while delivering significant shareholder value. We're expanding our innovation labs, doubling our research and development budget, and launching a new employee-driven venture fund to support internal startups. Questions explode again, but I continue, my voice rising slightly. But most importantly, we're rebuilding Brooks Technology's culture around what truly matters: innovation, integrity, and the belief that the best ideas can come from anywhere in the organization. As the formal press conference ends and I begin taking questions, I feel the momentum building. Each answer reinforces our new direction. Each statement builds confidence in our vision. Ms. Brooks, what do you say to critics who claim you're too inexperienced to lead a major tech company? I say, judge me by my results, I respond, thinking of Ryan's dismissive words from years ago. In the past 6 months, while working undercover, I've initiated programs that have already improved our operational efficiency by 23%. Ask our shareholders about the value of experience versus results. Is it true that former CEO Ryan Dawson is planning legal action? Any questions about Mr. Dawson should be directed to our legal department, I say smoothly. Brooks Technology is focused on the future, not the past. The questions continue for almost an hour. By the time I step away from the podium, our stock has opened up 12% on heavy volume. Claire shows me her tablet. Social media is exploding with the story, most of it positive. Your girl boss and undercover CEO are trending nationally, but it's what I see when I step out of the press room that matters most. The employees who've gathered in the lobby break into spontaneous applause. Sarah and her team are there, already wearing green ribbons to celebrate the revival of their initiative. James from operations gives me a thumbs up. Even Janet from accounting, who never smiles, is beaming. Nice work, Olivia whispers as we head to the elevator. But the real work starts now. She's right. The press conference was just the beginning. We have a company to rebuild, trust to restore, innovations to unleash. My phone hasn't stopped buzzing since the announcement. Messages from other CEOs, interview requests, congratulations from business leaders I've admired for years. But the message that catches my eye is from an unknown number. Your grandfather would be proud. Not just of what you did, but of who you've become. Eleanor. In my office, my real office, I find my team waiting. Walter has the latest market reports. Claire has already drafted responses to the most pressing partnership inquiries, and Olivia has updates on Ryan's likely legal strategies. The tech blogs are calling it a corporate fairy tale, Claire reports. Young heiress goes undercover to save her company from a corrupt CEO. They're already talking movie rights. I laugh, but there's work to be done. Let them tell whatever story they want. We have real changes to make. Speaking of changes, Walter says, pulling up a presentation. The Green Initiative team has some updates you should see, and the Innovation Lab leaders are ready to pitch their expansion plans. Good. I settle into my chair. Not my grandfather's chair anymore, but mine. Let's start with Sarah's team. It's time they got the support they deserve. As we dive into the work, I glance at the photo of my grandfather on my desk. He always said that real leadership isn't about having power, but about empowering others. Today, I finally understand exactly what he meant. The press may be calling this a fairy tale ending, but I know better. This isn't an ending at all. It's a beginning. 1 month after the revelation that shook corporate America, I stand in my grandfather's garden, watching the sunset paint the Manhattan skyline in shades of gold. The Brooks family estate has always been a sanctuary, but tonight it's something more, a gathering place for celebration. To the Green Initiative, Sarah raises her champagne glass, her smile radiant. Around us, dozens of Brooks Technology employees and their families mill about the garden party, marking our first major milestone as a reformed company. EPA certification, full funding, and international recognition in just 4 weeks. 2. The team that made it happen, I counter, clinking my glass against hers. The green ribbon she wore that first day has become a symbol throughout the company, a mark of innovation and environmental responsibility that employees wear proudly. Madison, Claire calls from across the garden. The Times reporter is here for your interview. I wave in acknowledgement, but take my time walking over. These moments with my employees, my team, are precious. I pass James from operations, deep in conversation with our new head of innovation about his ideas for streamlining production. Janet from accounting is actually laughing as she explains our new profit-sharing program to some new hires. The stock hit another record high today, Walter murmurs as I pass him. Up 40% since the announcement. Because of results, not rumors, I reply, thinking of all the skeptics who predicted our downfall. Instead, Brooks Technology has become a case study in modern corporate leadership, with companies around the world studying our transformation. The New York Times reporter waits near the koi pond, notebook in hand. She's young, sharp-eyed, reminding me a bit of myself not so long ago. Ms. Brooks, she begins, your first month as public CEO has been remarkable by any standard. The Green Initiative's success, the Innovation Lab expansion, the new corporate culture initiatives. How much of this was planned during your undercover period? I consider the question, watching the koi swim lazy circles in the pond my grandfather built. All of it, and none of it, I answer. I knew the changes we needed to make, but the how and when, that came from listening to our people, understanding their challenges and dreams. And the results speak for themselves, she notes. But what about the personal cost? You spent 6 months living a double life, watching Ryan Dawson take credit for your company's success. Was it worth it? The question takes me back to those long months of pretending to be less than I was, of swallowing my pride as Ryan dismissed, my ideas, of learning what real strength looks like. It wasn't about worth, I say finally. It was about necessity. Sometimes you have to step back to see the whole picture. My grandfather understood that. He knew I needed to experience every level of the company to lead it effectively. Speaking of Ryan Dawson, she glances at her notes. His lawsuit was dismissed last week. No comment on legal matters, I reply automatically, but I can't help smiling. Ryan's attempts to challenge my succession had crumbled in the face of overwhelming evidence and impeccable documentation. Last I heard, he'd left the country for a consulting opportunity in Dubai. One last question, the reporter says. Your grandfather was known for saying that true power isn't about control, but about empowerment. How has that philosophy shaped your leadership? Before I can answer, a commotion near the house draws our attention. A group of employees is gathering, excitement evident in their voices. Olivia appears at my side. The Innovation Lab results, she whispers. They're ready to announce the first round of internal startup funding. I excuse myself from the interview and make my way to the crowd. 10 teams of employees, chosen from all levels of the company, are about to receive funding to develop their ideas. Ideas that would have been dismissed or stolen under the old regime. As I listen to each team present their vision, renewable, energy solutions, AI-driven sustainability tools, revolutionary software platforms, I feel my grandfather's presence strongly. He would have loved this moment, seeing the company he built evolving into something even greater. Your grandfather once told me you'd surprise everyone, Eleanor says, appearing beside me. Even yourself. I'm still surprising myself, I admit. Every day brings new challenges, new opportunities. That's what real leadership is, she smiles. Not having all the answers, but asking the right questions. Not wielding power, but sharing it. The sun has fully set now, but the garden glows with lantern light. Around me, I see the future of Brooks Technology. Not in the stock prices or market reports, but in the faces of people finally free to innovate, to create, to lead in their own ways. My phone buzzes. Another interview request, another speaking, invitation, another profile piece. The world is fascinated by the undercover CEO story, but they're missing the real story. This isn't about one leader's journey from shadow to light. It's about what happens when you build a culture of trust, innovation, and shared purpose. Time for your speech, Claire reminds me gently. I step up to the small podium we've set up near the koi pond, looking out at the faces of people who've become more than employees. They're partners in something extraordinary. 1 month ago, I begin, we started a new chapter in the Brooks Technology story, but tonight isn't about me or my journey from undercover CEO to public leader. It's about all of you, your ideas, your dedication, your willingness to believe in something bigger than quarterly profits or market share. The garden falls silent, everyone listening intently. My grandfather built this company on a simple belief, that innovation comes from empowerment, that success comes from integrity, and that the best leaders are those who help others lead. Looking at what we've accomplished in just 1 month, I know he was right. I raise my glass, taking in the moment, feeling the weight and joy of true leadership. To Brooks Technology, I say, not just what it was or what it is, but what will make it together. The toast echoes through the garden, glasses clinking, voices raised in celebration. As I step down from the podium, I catch my reflection in the koi pond, no longer the cautious middle manager hiding in plain sight, nor the secret CEO watching from the shadows. Just me, Madison Brooks, leading in the light, and finally, completely, at home in my power. The end. Thanks for watching to the end. What did you think of this story? Let us know in the comments below. We value your opinion. Click the like button if you enjoyed it and be sure to subscribe to receive more captivating stories. Activate the bell so that you're always the first to know when a new video is published. See you next time.